Well, it looks like the warmer weather's here with all the fun and complication that brings. I was hiking yesterday, came around a corner, ran into a group of day hikers that was, could be described as scantily clad, and I damn near like ran off the trail in distraction. So yeah, I've apparently been out in the woods for a very, very long time. Also, once again, I am the sweatiest of sweaty hikers, so I start to have issues when it gets, you know, up into the 80s and I'm just like pouring buckets all day. I end up with this abrasion stuff on my lower back and butt, and it's like all I can do to manage it. I have this diaper cream stuff, A&D, that helps a little bit, but I can't seem to prevent it if I do longer days. You know, this was what happened to me in Northern California, and there I could seem to make 20 miles and it would be okay, but that last 5 miles, that's when everything would hit, and I would just limp through the last couple of miles to get to camp, heal up, do it all over again. Not really pleasant, because when you're hurting every step, you can't get into that kind of Zen mode where you're just hiking onward. But, you know, that's all I can do. Unfortunately, out here, the campsites are really full. So, like yesterday, I really was ready to stop, and I just couldn't. I couldn't find a place to stop. You can't even go off trail and find durable ground because it's all rocks. And you might be wondering, have I tried X? Have I tried Y? I've tried a couple of things. The issue I have is it's hard to get certain things out here, you know. If I have anything mailed to me, it's going to be, you know, 4 or 5 days out at a minimum by the time mail can arrive. And I have to get to a location that'll accept packages for me. And I don't have access to a lot of stores that might have things. And when I was home, I did try and troubleshoot a little of this in between the hikes, but for whatever reason, I don't start having this issues until 1,500, 1,800 miles into a hike. It's almost like my skin is constantly exposed to sweat and whatnot, so I start having more issues because it was damn hot in Florida, and I didn't really have, you know, this issue. Same thing. I started last year the PCT desert section in early May. It got 95 plus degrees several times over. I went through, you know, flat out heat waves, and I didn't have issues till I got to, you know, Northern California, Oregon, Washington. So long distance stuff, so much fun, huh? And once again, this is why I say I'm the world's most okay-ish thru hiker. Also, when people ask me why I don't take more time off, it's because you can have issues like this come up, and I might be forced to take time. And on the PCT last year, it was close enough where I did my continuous footpath thing from Campo to Washington, but there were people just a week or two behind that were not able to complete because they delayed. So I just always, you know, feel the time pressure. Not to mention, I'm here to hike. If I sit still for longer than about a day, I start getting antsy, feeling like I need to go north. Today, the gas station I was intending to do a light resupply at is only about 8 miles away, while the hostel where my shoes and a food box is waiting for me is 21 miles away. So my plan will be get to the gas station area. There are apparently burritos in the gas station, so that sounds quite good. Eat a bunch, and honestly, I probably don't need to resupply. I've got enough to get me to that box. And of course, Taters has booked her flight, so on day 160, she will be rejoining me. She flies into Roanoke, and then we just got to get her a ride to wherever I am. So after a certain point out here, everybody's feet seem to be hurting, and you basically wake up each morning and you limp for a while before you warm up. It's known as the hiker hobble. Always nice when you can get that out of the way on, you know, a steep uphill. And yes, I do like stretch out my calves and things in the morning. Still, hiker hobble. It's enough to give you tingles. I am currently really motivated because despite the pack carrying pain, in 2.8 miles, there's a gas station with burritos, the superior form of food, other than nachos. Ooh, I wonder if they have nachos too. Anyway, hot food. That is just a beautiful sight. The flowers? Hell no. See that Exxon? They're supposed to have burritos. I swear, if this one's closed and I don't get any burritos, I'm gonna probably cry for about an hour and then hike another 15 miles, because that's what I do. Of course, closed on Monday. Plan B. Okay, pizza, cold drinks, but no burrito. That just sucks.
Anyway, onwards, 12 more miles, and that's my next food resupply. And I get to swap out these broken down trail runners. And it is about time, I'm telling you. There seems to be some universal truth that whenever you eat heavily at a gas station and find yourself soon afterwards really needing a cat hole, the trail is going to dump you somewhere where there are no opportunities. Okay, so good news, 1/4 mile through the AT. So just another 1,600 some miles and then 700 something of the International AT, assuming the border opens. Piece of cake, right? I also just got some news that the box I was expecting with food at this next stop 10 miles ahead didn't get sent. Person sending it had a bit of a medical emergency and they're okay, seems like, but yeah, this might be a bit of a scramble. Okay, so mile 2,500, and how is today going? Well, burrito place I'd been looking forward to for a couple of days was closed today. I found out that a food delivery up ahead isn't going to make it, so now I'm going to have to scramble because a couple of days of food isn't there, and then I figure out the warts on my foot are getting better and spreading, unfortunately. So, and just as an added bonus, I'm having arch abrasion issues on my foot pretty bad. If I was in a better area that actually had campsites, I'd probably be finding a place to stop, but looks like I'm going to have to push on another 5 miles, hell or high water, due to pastures and whatnot. On the plus side, the back abrasions I was having such a problem with yesterday aren't that bad. And here we are again. Okay, so this is where that hostel is. Okay, home sweet home for the night, staying at the hostel. Okay, no video last night or this morning because I was actually camped at a hostel. It was one of those rare times when it made more sense to do that than anything else, and I didn't want to wake people up. As usual, whenever you have a large group of people, it was a slightly noisy night. Somebody in the front yard had a Thermarest air mattress. You can tell because every time they move or breathe, it makes this loud crinkling noise. This is why the Nemo Tensor is a way better sleeping pad. The people around you will like you much more. So I did laundry, I got a shower, and I was able to scrape together an extra day or two of food. So my hope is to be able to make it to the next on trail, which is Trent's Grocery, which should be about 2.5 days if I run a little light. I also have new shoes, which I badly needed because the old ones were worn out, and I was struggling a little bit with foot issues as a result. And new earphones because I seem to break these every now and then. FYI, never dunk the end into any sort of liquid by accident. I had one that went into a wine glass a while back, and yeah, that kills the headphone. I also got a new pair of toe socks, which is nice, and more of the pads to try and treat the plantar warts. The 2 bad ones I've had, they did die down a little when I used the pads. So hopefully now that I have more and I can apply them at night, I can kind of keep them down. They dissolve the skin, so then after I wear them a day or two, then that spot starts hurting because it's basically like an open wound. And everybody I've talked to who's treated these things, they always have advice, but usually they're just around town, so they're not having to walk on them in sweaty socks for 10 to 12 hours a day. I'm always kind of conflicted by the hostel stays because I really like meeting with people. I really like chatting with people. I just don't like sleeping in close quarters. So I need to like show up, hang around the hostel for dinner, and then wander off into the woods. Word up ahead is the water sources are starting to dry up, so there's going to be some water carries. Apparently after 12 miles, there's like a 9-mile water carry, which isn't that big a deal to me, the way I work. But I guess people were depending or assuming that the shelters had water, and not all of them do because the sources run dry, etc. Well, I gotta say, that's rather anticlimactic. I was expecting some nice fording here. Nothing like a brisk 2,000 foot climb to get you warmed up for a 12-mile dry stretch in the heat. And I've run into a lot of people today. I swear I've passed more people on this hill than I've seen on any given day previously. Also, pretty sure we're all aimed for this pond up ahead. I'm just gonna drink as much as I can, carry 2 liters, see if I can't knock out, get to the next water source, maybe even do a mile or 2 past that, if everything holds up. Also, I'm jealous of the female hikers back there. Male anatomy and spandex is not a pairing for polite society. So, I get to wear these sweaty ass layers. Woohoo. Okay, nothing like drinking 3 liters of water to make you feel like you're sloshing as you continue uphill. And occasionally to trigger your intestinal release system. You'd think by now I'd have learned my lesson about overhydrating leading to intestinal distress, but you would be wrong. And yet another shelter, and that would be OG Pickles, who hates me. See, I have so much fun every time I stop by a shelter and actually chat with people. But then the times where I'm like, oh, hey, I have a little extra time. I'll wander over to the shelter and see if anybody wants to talk. Nobody does, or they don't want to talk to me. Very unfriendly shelters in certain places. I think they start eyeing you as you're coming in, and they're probably weekenders, so they don't want any more people in the shelter. There were a few Facebook posts where people were posting, we're at such and such a shelter and there's no more room, trying not to have more people show up. This trail spoils me all bloody morning with a glorious 2,000 foot climb, plus some other little ones. And now we're back to knee destroying downhill. So the funny thing is, I grumble about, camping and sleeping around others, right? But then I love talking to people. And then you've got Taters, who hates talking to people, and people seem to think that she hates them based on how she'll act around groups sometimes. But she has no problem camping or sleeping around others. So, go figure. Team Macetators. And just a bit of rain, which I'd probably be enjoying if I was feeling a little better. Oh well. The hostel owners were describing this as having all sorts of downed trees and things. Hasn't been too bad today. A little slower, but not bad. So, on the topic of those damn warts I've been dealing with, I noticed they were spreading, and I sent a picture to Taters a couple of days ago, and now she's been freaking out. Now she's taking it seriously. So we're actively trying to talk to doctors and things like that. And I may be jumping off the trail for a day or two to actually get treatment. We're evaluating a couple of options, because here's the thing, I'm kind of an extreme case here. When they say that, oh, if you use this special treatment where they put beetle juice on it and it causes blisters, you'll be able to walk after 3 days. Well, I am walking, but this isn't most people's standards of walking. They're probably describing people being able to hobble around the house or go out and get the mail, right? So a number of years ago when I was doing bike centuries, I ended up with bronchitis, and I didn't get it dealt with, and so it got worse. Went into the doctor, and he's like, yeah, you've got bronchitis. Here's the medication you have to take. And I'm like, oh, doctor, I had a bike ride this weekend. Is it okay if I go on it? He's like, yeah, sure, go do your bike ride. If you're not feeling great, just stop. So I did. It was a bike century that went up and over Big Bear. It was right around the Bear, one of the 3 big butt kicker rides, and my bronchitis turned into walking pneumonia. And so I was back the following week in really rough shape. And the doctor was yelling at me, what the hell did you do? And I'm like, you told me I could do a bike ride. You didn't specify I could only go 10 miles. So now when I have medical treatment, like my knee surgery, I always try and get them to specify, exactly what I'm allowed to do. So if I'm going to be able to walk, does that mean I can walk 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles? What sort of terrain? Because there's sharp rocks down here. Is that going to work? Things you don't have to worry about till you're doing some big cross-country through hike. Now, some of these options are going to require a 3-hour drive off trail. So we have to try and get all the information and make sure it's something where we know that I can get the treatment right away and how long the recovery is going to be, because that's a lot of time to be taken off. Since I have started this trip, I've rarely taken even like a 00. I think I might have had 3 days off early on when I threw my back out, but I don't generally take long periods off. And I have fudge time right now to be able to still reach Cap Gaspé and the Canadian border, but there's only so much fudge time. If I start taking a week off, that's really going to cut into that. And I want to save that fudge time for when I get, you know, Lyme disease or mauled by a bear or kidnapped by hillbillies, you know, whatever's going to happen in the future. Okay, so it looks like I'm past the latest rough section, back to more normal dirt trail. There's a shelter up ahead that has water, so I'm going to fill up and then start looking for camp. I'm somewhere north of 20 miles and it's after 7 right now. So it looks like most of the crowd this morning probably jumped off at that hostel that was shuttling people off at that dirt road a while back. I will say that I am hopeful I can find campsites ahead, but I was hopeful yesterday and the day before, and that didn't go too well. Don't you hate it when you find just the perfect little 1-tent site right when you want to stop, and then you look at it and you go, it's flat, the ground's good, and then you notice that giant pile of soiled toilet paper somebody left, which would be right outside your vegetable. Frickin' people. Okay, not the most ideal, but I did find a site right here on the edge of a hillside. So if I really want to get away from something, all I have to do is throw myself about a foot outside my vestibule and I'll be rolling right out of rage. Home sweet home for the night.